Hey everybody, welcome back to the COWSA podcast, episode three in a row, a new personal record. I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host, GeneralSound.
Hello everyone, once again.
Yeah, and today we have a very special guest. Uh, I'm trying to think of a nice, exciting introduction, but I realize that everyone's probably just seen the thumbnail and they know exactly who it is. So it's TheBarnical, dad of COWSA and captain of White Rabbit Gaming Boosters. Welcome.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So, as special guests, we like to spend the first 500 years talking to you about various things. And I think the thing we're most interested to find out from you, or at least get some information on, is just COWSA as a whole. How did it start? Where's it going? And what does it represent?
Sure, that's quite a big one.
Mm,
I think let's start with where it started. Probably about halfway through last year, Dark Magician had the idea prior to that with Lag Beast, and I think at the time just things were a bit too busy and they weren't quite able to get to it. I took a few months off work at the end of last year. Myself and Dark Magician decided that we'd get cracking and get it started and see what we could do. The general idea was just to provide a place where we could help with some training, some coaching, get the community together, help build a few teams, and just get the general awareness of Overwatch out there. Obviously, after we started, things progressed. The pugs had started. We got many people on board who wanted to lend a helping hand and had as much of a passion in growing the community as we did. So obviously, our numbers grew very quickly. And yeah, from that point forward, we just started to look to the future to see what we could do to grow it even more. Yeah, I think the first step for us thereafter was just to start to have some events. We try to host pugs as often as possible to get as many people involved as possible. Had a bit of a problem in the beginning, a lot of high level players versus a lot of the lower level players. We try to find a way to get everyone involved as much as possible, balance the teams out nicely, use it as more of a training exercise for the lower ranks, just so that they could feel that they weren't getting absolutely stomped. I think we were very successful with that most of the time. Obviously, we had our occasional game where people got a bit landslided, but we did our best to try and avoid that. From that point forward, we just started to see if there were any kind of competitions we can get involved in. We started hosting, like we did the Pink Mercy Skin competition, just to get a few outsiders involved. We've recently started with the 3v3 competition that the comic book store in Johannesburg's wanting to get going. Obviously, we ourselves aren't hosting it, but we're assisting them with getting all of that going. Our end goal is just to keep the growth going. We've got a very small community here at the moment, which has grown exponentially in the past while. We hit our 500 member mark last week, which is a big deal. So yeah, at the moment we're just kind of keeping on pushing on, just trying to help everyone wherever we can, and just keep everyone entertained and together and friendly.
I have to
yeah,
say
I
that.
think that
Yeah, go for it, Sun.
I think that kind of goes back to your roots of how it started, because it when I joined the COWSA Discord, or just the coaching Discord as it was then, it was exactly that, a place for new teams who wanted to get into competition in South Africa to come and just cut their teeth a bit. You and Vaj were heavily involved in coaching them. Obviously, the success story out of that is 2CP, currently Prem team, strong team, scary team, takes
Much
games
older.
with you guys. So, kind of
Yeah,
harkens back
no.
to humble beginnings in that sense.
Yeah, 100%. We often use them as an example. I mean, I can't take anything away from them. The raw talent that all six of those players had is theirs and theirs alone. We just helped with some guidance, direction, and more just from a how to captain perspective than anything else. Incidentally, myself and Virgulus have become very good friends, and I mean, we chat often. I'm sure, as most captains do, just kind of chatting to one another about the struggles of being a captain of a team, because it's not always roses and ponies.
Yeah, for sure. And that is a lovely segue into the next topic of conversation. That is your team, White Rabbit Gaming Boosters. Now, you guys have been through a slew of changes Rage last year, where you guys finished 5th, 6th, I think. You've
Yeah,
picked
somewhere
up
around there.
visions, picked up patches, picked up Vag or Gastlee or whatever he's going by these days, and really upgraded in every role, whether it be through new players or through role switches or through just general skill ups. But you guys are now sitting pretty at or near the top of Premier Division, and that's, talks a little bit through the changes that went through. You don't have to go into big detail, but also the kind of changes going forward.
Yeah, as you say, there've been a lot of changes. I think last year we got a bit blown back because we joined VS Gaming quite late. We only came in second leg, which means that we never actually made it to Prem.
I remember that.
Yeah, we did very well in the ladder. We did very well in first division. I think we were able to go 7-0 in first division. And then we played in the playoffs, which is what got us our spot to Rage. So I think we weren't quite anticipating what the Premier teams were like. I mean, we scrimmed against Eden once.
You topped the playoffs, right?
Yeah, we did.
Pretty unbeaten as well.
Yeah, I remember you played against.
We were using 2 internationals at the time, and I mean, a lot of the teams were.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that they played a large part in how we got to where we got last year. I mean, I won't take that away from them. They were insanely good.
Yeah, I remember we played against you guys in the playoffs, but I wasn't playing that game particularly against Aftermath. I think it was, you guys played against us and you wrecked us. It was quite a surprise. So. Yeah. Yeah,
and then at the end of last year, unfortunately, we lost Casper on the team just due to life commitments. At the time, myself and Dark Magician had already started the Discord, so we were chatting, and I'd said to him that Casper would be leaving, so he joined us. Beginning of this year, Jinx had stepped down for work responsibilities. And same thing happened. Myself and Patches had been chatting. He'd mentioned to me that he was potentially looking for a team. And one thing just led to another, and then he joined us. And then Visions was pretty much the same story. Visions had got involved through the COWSA Discord, and him and I chatted quite frequently. And then, he just kind of asked me if there was a spot available. And at the time, Explosive was struggling with internet problems at home. He had a mild surgery in the beginning of the year, so he was off for a while. So we decided to make the change and just get Visions on board, which also led to quite a few role swaps within the team. One that I'm most proud to speak about is Jup, who has done the most amazing tank job of, in my opinion, he was MVP on leg 1 and 2 for us, as well as Kimbo. But his tanking is just phenomenal for someone who was a support main for a year and is now suddenly on main tank and is doing as well as he's doing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as someone who switch roles a lot, it takes a bit of time to shift that gear and to perform at the highest level in South Africa after a role switch like that. And with quite a new team with a lot of new players at the time, at the beginning of Leg 1, is really impressive. And he was, 2nd or 3rd last week when we spoke about the awards.
Yeah, I think it was 3rd. Yeah, 3rd. No, it was 2nd. It was 2nd. The most improved.
He was 2nd.
Second.
Yeah.
Don't take that away from my team.
GeneralSound just wants all the awards to himself, so it's difficult to get a word in edgewise.
Yeah, so I mean, besides the swaps, everyone gets along very well, which is a good thing for us. I mean, we don't just play on practice nights; we speak all day, every day, which helped with our synergy a lot. Visions obviously added a lot to the team with his general game sense, his understanding of metas, that kind of thing, which really helped us, and it pushed us in a slightly more focused and serious direction, which I think we never really had because we were just a group of friends who decided to start playing competitively. That's how Boostio started. And I think with him adding that, and I mean, I don't really think I need to go into any detail about Patches. Everybody knows Patches. His Twitter is insane. He's probably one of the only people in SA that can match 20.
Yeah.
And so having him on the team and his flexibility between DPS roles as well is great for us. Then I suppose that obviously just leads us to the latest change, which is Dark Magician, or Gastlee, as he's now known. stepping down to focus on the casting and streaming side of things. It was a bit of a shocker because it came very suddenly, but I think he left it for the right time. The transfer window was open. We had a few people in mind, but we were looking to get someone in the team who we knew we'd have the synergy with from the get-go. We didn't feel like yet again for the third or fourth time in a year having to rebuild synergy with the player. And Krakens fits that criteria 100%.
Yeah.
And we all know him. We all get along. The guy lives down the road from me. I see him twice a month. And he's a brilliant player as well, who fits the off-tank role beautifully and also has the support capabilities, which is quite nice because it opens up our team to many changes. We are now quite versatile, which before we didn't have as much versatility as we now do. So we're quite excited to see what happens.
Just one question I want to ask, Barney. Like you guys went through a lot of changes over the last couple of leagues. How do you adapt to that? What's like your strategies and how you go about scrims with new individuals coming into the team?
I'm not going to get too in depth with that for obvious reasons, but throw them in the deep end. That's the best way to do it. Put them against a high level team and see how they do, because winning a scrim doesn't teach you as much as losing one does. And I think the biggest problem most teams have is playing under pressure. So we trialed two people, and both times we just threw them under pressure to see how they handle, and Krakens handled it beautifully. He may have sworn a few times. He may have, you could almost hear him breathe in a few times because he was struggling a bit, but not struggling to keep up weight, just not used to the pressure of playing that consistently all the time. So, but he absolutely loved it and enjoyed himself. So we're very happy.
Cool. So that's a little bit about COWSA and Boostios going forward. Exciting to see how Krakens fits in and whether he can keep you guys near the top. Got big shoes to fill. We laughed about it earlier in the day, but Gastlee voted MVP of League 2, I think, for Prem. Community MVP.
We had a good joke about it.
So exactly. So the community, by that metric, is big shoes to fill for Krakens.
Yeah, definitely.
But let's move on. So the main topic of conversation today, if that wasn't it, is the upcoming leg. So leg 3 begins this week at time of recording, and it's looking to be a big one. Lots of role switch ups, lots of roster changes, big teams dropping out, as we spoke about in episode 1, Nova X and Pulse, and that means a lot of players, free agents that can be picked up by other teams. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And so let's just jump into it. Let's start with First Division here, and just talk about what we're expecting, some predictions, and who we're looking at to take the top spot. So I think, Jen, you and I, from playing in First Division very recently, the team I'm looking at with the most fear in my heart is definitely Project All Flex, right? Third place at the end of Leg 2, really had a strong end to the leg, and probably, I'm not ashamed to say, would have beaten us if they'd had all 6 players when they played us. Unfortunately, their sub wasn't able to make it, and they had to play us 5v6. But had they not, maybe they're sitting in the Premier instead of Phoenix Rising. So really a strong team, a scary team to look out for, and at least on paper, look to be a cut above the rest of the teams.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we played against him, we were lucky to get him early in the league, and they were still trying to figure out things. But when I started watching some of the VODs mid-league at the end of the league, and hearing they almost they gave you quite a game 5v6, I could see, like, I know Not Groot moved more into a like captain and strat caller role, and it shows like how they're working about, because I know like Aquatic is their main DPS and they just play around him, so I know that's like the main strat they've been working on, just enabling him, which is good to see like Division 1 teams doing, and that's how you take advantage to climb, and that's what I did with Prodigy. So I'd definitely say they're up there.
Yeah, so Project Allflex, one to keep your eye on. Then there's a couple of sort of old favorites, Omnious Gaming, Ominous, yo, these names sometimes. But the real the next one for me that you got to look out for is Chronic Underdogs. We've mentioned this before, but when we were playing in First Division last leg, that was a team when they beat OG Ominence. That was a team that was on our radar. We were like, okay,
Yeah.
keep your eye on this team. They can take a game of us. They can beat us. And so without Phoenix Rising and Prodigy in the mix, they're, from my point of view at least, a shoe-in for second place in this leg.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, I think we spoke about them in the last 2 episodes quite in depth. So I think people know now they are definitely a strong team for Division 1. They got a good bunch of players that want to learn and want to understand the meta, so it'd be interesting to see what they're going to bring out in the next leg. And yeah, I think also, in my opinion, I think like watching Perseus as well, the last ladder game they played, they actually played really well. So they also look like they got a few pickups with, I can't remember who's the guy's name, he's a projectile TPS player, and he looked like he was doing really well, and he can flex on support. And yeah, I think they're also a team to look out for the next league, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm actually
go for it.
Sorry, I'm actually quite interested to see the ADG Slinky team.
Yeah.
I know they've done a few scrims recently in some ladder matches, and unfortunately not quite had the results that they were hoping for. But they are a group of 6 very passionate people, which I know mechanical skill and game sense and knowledge and all that is very important, but passion for the game is huge.
Yeah.
The more passionate you are, the more effort you're going to put in, the more you're going to try, the harder you're going to take your losses. At the end of the day, that's what's gonna make you win.
I got a funny story because I'm coaching them at the moment, and my first coaching session with them was a VOD review, and I ended up spending 2 hours because they just wanted to know more. Like they couldn't let go of me, like because I was giving them so much information. They were literally taking out notepads and writing out all their mistakes. And then they played their last game last night, and they did really well. So yeah, this is I think they're gonna be a team that might turn heads. Definitely look out for them next league, yeah.
And they are one of 3 new teams, I think. 4 new teams up from ladder because of the disbanding of Pulse and Nova X. So Interitus we're quite familiar with from previous leagues. They were in First Division League 1, unfortunately not able to keep their spot there. Exitum as well, been around for a little bit. Not really shown that many results though, good or bad. So interested to see how they can perform going forward. And then Equinox as well, a new team, also quite untested. But all these teams, Slinky, Equinox, Exitum, even the rest teams, Perseus, for example, this last week have been putting in so many hours into ladder matches.
Yeah,
it's very good to see. And the main thing is when you playing and you're not getting the results you want, but you keep pushing, that's amazing, because a lot of teams, they get very demotivated from a loss, and they generally stop practicing. I know lots of guys, you see custom game ending and then immediately offline because people take it to heart, and it's good to see a team that can take a loss and take it on the chin and just keep pushing forward.
Yeah,
exactly. So that about sums up First Division, I think. So let's move on to Premier Division here, and this is where things are really heating up here. There's a lot of unknowns in First Division, but in Prem Division, these are all teams we're very familiar with. A few new faces here that we've never seen in Prem before. Obviously, Prodigy sticks out in a big way there. Huge, incredible performance in First Division last leg, and to be honest, probably a team you've got to look out for, perhaps.
Yeah.
I definitely. Sorry, General.
No,
I definitely think they're gonna have a lot to show and a lot to prove. I think it's going to be quite tricky for them because obviously the new teams play against the teams that ended the highest in the previous season, so they're going to have quite a tough early week. But it's quite good because get the hardest games out of the way and know what to improve on, which you can use against the teams that you you maybe feel a bit more comfortable playing against a bit later in the leg.
For sure. And as strong as the performance was last leg, they've got a lot of changes coming to this leg. Losing GeneralSound here is quite a big hit to any team. As someone who's on the receiving end of that losing is really, you can see how much of a difference you make to a team. And I think Prodigy is going to suffer quite a bit not having you there, but also they've lost Corpy now as main tank.
Yeah. So.
And that's also a huge thing. Barnical, I'm sure, can attest to this. Trying to break in a new main tank is like pulling teeth a lot of the time, especially when you have to do it in a super high pressure situation.
Like they spoke to me about it. Like, would I suggest should be main tank? So I told them, look, whoever wants to take that mantle, whoever wants to grab that position by the, grab it and take it. Don't force somebody into it, because main tank is not an easy position. It takes a lot of, you need to be brave to be a main tank. And I think they have one or two suggestions. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think there is one or two players in their roster that can step up and take that position easily. Yeah.
Excited to see how this roster ends up playing out. Then let's move further up the log here. Phoenix Rising Overwatch. A weird conversation to have in the third person, but anyways. Now, before we started, Barney said, I'm going to call you out a little bit. I don't know what to call you guys. Phoenix Rising, NovaX Rising. Don't know what to call you guys, because we are a big beneficiary of NovaX expanding, picking up NLT in the support position, and Hammy in the projectile DPS and support position. And obviously GeneralSound joining us as well now. Big changes for us. Hopefully this can solidify our spot in Premier Division and, take some games of the bigger teams.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I mean, as you said, Hammy, NLT, I've played against numerous times. They both are really good players. General, I don't think I've actually ever played against you before.
I never. I never played against Boost.
I have seen some of your matches, and same thing. You clearly got the mechanical skill and the game sense to go with it. And I think also with Phoenix Rising having been in leg 1 making Prem, and then stepping down to first div and now back up to Prem again, it's kind of giving you guys a bit of perspective as to what you're in for. You guys are prepared now. You know exactly what you're up against, and you guys are ready for it.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, sorry, I figured I'd lead with the conversation, seeing as it must be strange speaking about your own team and your own show.
Yeah, we can just say we're working hard at the moment and we're putting in a lot of time. So
yeah, whatever happens, but we're putting in the hours to try and make something happen. It's really difficult breaking in 3 new players at the same time, especially with Hammy only able to join us this last Sunday was the first time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of change going on. So it might take us a bit to get on our feet, but we're excited going forward, and we're excited with this roster we've got that we can make something happen.
Yeah.
So moving on from there, let's work our way now towards the top of the leg. So from leg 2, our top 3 teams tied for first place. Goliath Gaming, Energy Eden, and of course White Rabbit Gaming Boosters. Now, Barney, of those 2 teams, Goliath Gaming and Eden, who are you more fearful of in facing going forward?
It's actually a very, very difficult question to answer, because
I know, I'm full of difficult questions.
You are. You told me you were going to warn me about these things.
I did.
It's very tricky, because I don't think we've played Goliath Gaming since the new meta's broken in. When we did, it was about 2 days in. I think we'd had a bit of practice on it and they hadn't yet. So us playing against them, it wasn't quite a fair representation of what they actually have to show. Whereas Eden was ready to rock and roll. So it's very tricky to say. To be honest with you, it's 50-50. I can't pick one over the other, there is actually a team I'm more scared to play that is not mentioned there, which is Unidentified. Because those guys have some serious raw talent. I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping ahead of where we're at, but I just figured, seeing as you put in the two together, I know we tied for third place, but Unidentified had a bit of a tricky leg last season.
Yeah.
Whereas I think they're ready now and they're at the party.
Like Squishy mentioned last week, he said that they were a team that didn't understand how to play 6, and now they're starting to put in the hours understanding how to play as a 6, because they know they like mechanically, individually, they're really good. But now coming into this league, they're putting in the hours and they're scrimming quite a bit now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be shaped up for this league.
I think it's also something that Squishy touched on with you guys in the show, is that they had 2 really good DPS and the team played around them. Which works in many situations, but when you start to get into high level play, it becomes less about individual players and more about the team play. And they were on the one side of the spectrum, and now they are very much so on their way to the other. Not to say that the players aren't still amazing, but as a team, they are supporting each other and backing each other up, which makes them a very scary force to reckon with. And they love cheese. They play the cheesiest comps, and
they are the cheesiest team.
It takes you by surprise, man. I mean, when we played them in Leg 2, they rocked up with Farah and Junkrat on attack. I mean, who plays Farah and Junkrat on attack? I mean, obviously we can adapt to it, but it just came out of nowhere. They kept first point in 30 seconds because we weren't expecting it.
I mean, every time you play them, you've got to look for that flipping Bastion. You know, Dorado is coming. They take
the minute they cap the points, yeah, no, 100%.
I think now they got a few pickups. I don't know if we can talk about, Sun.
If it's on the list, it's on the list.
Yes, so from what I know, they're picking up Sigs, and who's the other pickup? I know they have him as a reserve, but he's gonna be working in the back line with him.
I can't remember his name, but they picked up some new, playing a kind of coaching role. And I think that's going to be a huge deal for them. Yeah. But Sigs is officially on the roster, and he's not playing the main tank, interesting enough. Something important to note. He is playing in that support role, something he himself requested, I believe. So
I think he's playing like a flex role, support, and maybe another role because of the Brigade meta only opening one slot or something 3 slots for support. So I think he's going to be flexing, from my understanding.
Okay. So I think that just about covers everyone. The only team we haven't spoken about is Dominion and 2CP.
And Boosters. We never spoke about Boosters. Maybe.
Yeah, so we don't care. We spoke like 15 minutes at the beginning about Boosters.
No, we're fan favorites, remember? So
exactly. You must know, if you're in this call, we don't talk about you. You get your time in the beginning, and then your team doesn't exist anymore.
No, that's fine with me. We've had enough.
2CP is a team I want to talk about just briefly. We postulated, General and I, and Squishy backed us up on this point, that this meta is one that's going to favor them because of their strong tank play. Bad just come out and said Riposte best main tank in the country many times, and now he's down competition because Sigs is no longer playing main tank. At least that's how it seems. So a team with strong tank play, you think they're going to do well this league? I mean, you know them perhaps better than anyone other than them.
At the risk of sounding unbiased, because I love 2CP and I love all their players, and they're our children because we help them form. So I have love for them. Any team that has Riposte on it is going to do amazingly well. The man is an absolute beast. I don't know if any of you have him on your friends list, but he was about 60 SR away from GM 2 days ago. The guy, and he's solo queue climbing. He plays like an absolute beast. Everyone on the team, Easy, Zombie Todd, are a really good support combination. Virgulas and Sumjo together on DPS, or even her on Diva, is an absolute nightmare to deal with. Ashbro joining the roster as of the beginning of last leg. He's a very versatile player as well, whether it be the off tank or DPS. I think with the Brigitte meta hitting hard as it did, I think they struggled because it became very much very much kind of support and tank orientated. But with the recent nerfs coming in and things changing slightly, I think they're going to do very well. I think they struggled a bit as it hit, but I think with the changes now, they're going to adapt nicely.
Yeah, I think it kind of falls in line with what we were thinking, Adrian.
Yeah.
And so the last team to talk about, last certainly not least, is of course DDC Dominion. I think perhaps benefiting from the Nova X retirement, I think they were the two we were expecting to drop out of Premier Division last leg. But with Nova X's retirement, they were able to keep their spot. But that said, they did beat Pulse 3-0. That wasn't a forfeit win or anything. They beat them on the day. So
Yeah.
definitely deserving of their position.
I know they made
in
two
Premier
pickups as
Division.
well this league. I know they picked
Exactly,
up Kopi.
so-
They picked up Kopi. She's a
Did they really?
Yes, they picked up Kopi. I actually saw it this afternoon when I was looking at the rosters. They picked up him and they picked up another DPS player. Let me see if I can just find it quickly.
Yeah, shame. I think DDC is going to have a bit of a difficult and interesting round 3. Obviously, with the player that passed away 2 weeks ago, I could imagine the team's spirits or morale is maybe a bit down at the moment. That can't be an easy thing. I know when we were with Pew Pew Gaming last year, their Counter-Strike team lost a player and the whole team just called it quits because they just couldn't continue to go. So I mean, it's nice that they've got the players they've picked up now, but I'm sure they have a lot to work together.
Yeah.
To work through together.
Yeah.
Definitely. And
so the 3 players they picked up is Kopi, Bane, and Downs. I've seen Downs in Pugs a couple of times. He's a projectile player, Genji player mainly, and he was playing he was playing on my team one Pug, and he was wrecking with the Genji. So be interesting to see where he fits in this roster for them.
Yeah, for sure. And Kopi, how do you think he's going to fit in? You know him quite well from your time at PUBG.
For me, his strongest role is main tank. I don't know who's the current main tank at the moment. I don't know if you can comment on that, Barney, but I haven't really played against him.
Deathseed? Is it not Deathseed?
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where he fits because I know he's predominantly a main tank, and I don't know if he can play any other roles, but let's see. I know deep down he wants to be a DPS player, so
everybody does.
Maybe they're gonna give him that space to get that role. So let's see. I have no idea what.
Yeah, I think from us playing against DDC last leg, as you said, I think it was Deathseed that was on main tank. I think Kopi, if he goes on main tank, will get a bit of a fright playing in Prem because he's a very aggressive Reinhardt. He's a very effective Reinhardt.
Yeah.
But in high-level play, when that Reinhardt charges in, unless he gets the equal amount of support, he's going to get melted in seconds. And it's going to be a bit of a scary awakening to realize that you don't even reach the wall that's in front of you and you're dead.
I have to say
I'm interested to see where they slot him.
It used to be a nightmare playing off tank with him, like try to keep him alive all the time. It was insane.
So rude.
It's an effective way to play, but your team needs to be 100% behind you. They need to play around you and not the other way around.
Yeah, that's why most of the time I always ask for Moira instead, so they can just press shift and get to him. So, and then I always try to save a ball. But yeah, that's gonna be up to DDC how they're gonna play with him, and it's an effective way of playing, but at the end of the day, that charge can be opened up, but if he's not careful enough, it can be wrecked by obviously teams like prep teams, like you're saying, Bon. So yeah, let's see what happens. Definitely, it's going to be an interesting pickup.
To kind of piggyback off Barnacle's point, though, that style of play is one we've seen be very effective from Goliath Gaming. Is the one that sticks out in my head, where Z-Lord just gets aggressive, but he's got Pac-Man on his back. He's got his team behind and keeping him alive in a big way, and he is that tip of the spear, that initiation. He can use his team to outplay his opposite number, and that's something we saw quite obviously against Eden last leg. So it's a style, like you say, that can work very well, but your team needs to be on the same page as you, and joining a new team makes it very difficult to enable that kind of style of play.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Nail on the head, man.
And I think we haven't spoken about Eden yet. I think the team that needs the least to be said about them. Top since Rage, since before Rage, since the days of Noobs. That was the last team that really put their feet to the fire until White Rabbit Gaming. But, anytime Eden is in a league, you got to look towards them to being at, if not the top team in the league.
Definitely, man. They're full of a team with lots of talent. Centical hit like 4.3k as just playing May in ranked. They all just have something that they want to show, and they show it every time they play. I'm most interested to see what's going to happen with Like a Luke joining them. I think, in fact, I don't even have any solid predictions because it's so difficult to say. Like a Luke plays so much, and covers
he's that
so many
player
different
that you
roles.
just can't predict. You can't predict what he's going to do, where he's going to be.
Yeah, that's why I said in the first podcast, I'm really interested to see where they're going to put him into Eden, what role he's going to play, because 20 also plays the Hanzo. A lot of people are speculating he's going to play Hanzo for them, but how can you take 20 off Hanzo for Eden? You know what I mean? Especially when he was so.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
So I think I've been trying to see where they could fit Luke and 20 as a DPS duo. Like myself and Patches, he's a lot more of a hit scan orientated player, where I'm the projectile player.
Yeah.
But we both have experience on our opposite numbers as well. So if he needs to play the Hanzo, for example, and I need to be on a soldier because they've got the Pharaoh, whatever it might be, we can both kind of chop and change between the two. But from what we've seen, 20 plays 3 heroes. He plays them like an absolute god. But he plays those 3. He does his Widow, he does his Hanzo, and he does his McCree. He doesn't do Tracer anymore, from what I've seen. He pulls it out on a rare occasion.
I think he played Tracer.
I think a lot of what he plays covers what Luke plays, which might be a bit tricky for them to find that synergy together. So I'm very interested to see what they pull out as a duo.
I think he was their main Tracer when they played Dive predominantly, and now they moved away from the Dive. So it's like this meta doesn't really favor the Tracer as much as it used to. But it's been interesting to see.
When you Genji Tracer that time, and you're running Genji Tracer, who else do you want but Carnage on Genji and 20 on Tracer? I mean, that's the dream composition, right?
Yeah. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised they bring out the Dive again, eh? Like, I wouldn't take that away from them if they do.
Dive is very far from dead.
Yeah.
A lot of the scrims we've played, we come out expecting Brigitte. She's non-existent. Most of the teams are still playing Dive. If you looked at the finals of Open Division, which is running on the latest patch, most of those teams all ran Dive comp. I think a lot of teams are avoiding the Brigitte meta for whatever reason. I don't know if they're nervous that it's going to get nerfed and they're going to invest too much time into practicing something that's going to change, or if they just don't enjoy it, or if they just really love Dive. Because Dive was I know it lasted too long, but it was a beautiful meta that required the most amazing synergy and coordination in the team. It was the best example of what a solid team looks like.
Yeah.
So, we saw a lot of it in Open Division.
But
it's just a great comp to play that makes you feel like you can do things. If sometimes the static comps can make you feel like you're very active. With a Dive, you can be reactive, you can be aggressive, you can really play however you want to play.
Yeah. I think if you look at the Overwatch League now, you'll see a lot of teams like they do like huge improvisations with Brigitte. They'll have a Dive with her, or you know what I mean, or they'll go death ball on in certain situations in the map. You know what I mean? So
it's very difficult to tell off it at the moment though, because they're not running on the latest patch.
Yeah.
So without the Hanzo change, that's part of what makes the Ryan Zarya as important as it is, which is what makes Brigitte as important as she is.
100%.
The Hanzo change literally defines the meta. So I'm interested to see when that hits what they're going to be doing, although by the time it hits, she's probably going to change again.
Yeah. But
okay.
In a way.
So before we sign off, I'm going to ask you for predictions. Who do you think's going to be top of First Division? Give me one name and a little bit of a explanation. Short one.
For me,
One name. Wow.
okay, for me it will be first division will be Project All Flex, just because they've been have the same roster for a while and been practicing hard. And then Prem, this is a difficult one. I'm probably gonna go for Eden. Sorry, buddy. Like Eden for me.
That's okay.
They just showed how strong they were at the end of last leg. Like I think they'll manage to figure out how to beat GG this leg easily. So yeah, I think definitely it will beat Eden. Like by ball here, you could say. I don't know if I could say that. But yeah,
hey, we PG over here. Okay. Jeez.
I think for me, first division, I'm actually going to go with the old favorite of Omnius Gaming, Ominence. That team's improved incredibly well. They've always fought hard. They've shown a lot of power. And I think they've got a good chance of taking the first spot in first div. Premier Division, I'm going to be biased and I'm going to vote for my team because it's my team and I love them. And if my team hears that I think another team's going to beat us, I'm going to be a dead man.
You got to keep that morale.
I do.
What kind of a captain is that?
I do think that the question's a bit too black and white for me to answer because, I mean, realistically, I think there are 4, if not 5 teams in first division that all have a very good chance of beating each other. I mean, last round was strange. Eden beat us, we beat GG, but GG beat Eden. Yes. I mean, the leg is always the strangest thing. You'll play against a team that lost to a team you beat, and you're like, oh, we've got this, guys. This is easy. And then they beat you, and you're like, but how is that even possible?
Yeah,
it's full of surprises. Crazy. So it's
it never used to be like that, hey? The scene used to be completely striated, where you'd have Team 7 will beat Team 8 every single time they play, or Team 3 will beat Team 4 every single time they play. It's crazy. It's totally unexpected to have Team 1 beat Team 2, who beats Team 3, and Team 3 beats Team 1. That's so unusual, but it's awesome to see. You never know who's going to win. So for my predictions, Project All Flex, I think I agree with Jen there. No disrespect to Omnius Gaming. I just think they struggled last leg. And they have picked up a new player. Mutant Guns joined them, by the way, something we didn't mention. Someone I've played with before on Phoenix Rising, a very capable DPS player. I'm not sure what role he'll be playing for them, but I imagine it'll probably be their DPS. So, they are picking up something, and I know they did have quite a few issues with roles and that kind of thing in Leg 2. Use that as a learning experience, so maybe they come back stronger. But for me, All Flex is where it's at. They impressed me towards the end of last leg, and they've got strong players and like you said, put in a lot of hard work to get to the top. And for Premier Division, I'm also going to have to go with White Rabbit Gaming because
fan favorite,
fan favorite, exactly. That's the only reason I have to go with the community. Otherwise, I wouldn't stand it.
I appreciate that. Whatever your reasons are, I appreciate it.
I think you guys showed me first leg. You can beat in Eden. You can play under pressure, and as good as Eden is, I think you guys have just got their number. Keep taking them close, and if that one team fight goes a different way on one of the maps, you take that the leg 2 series. You take that one. So. Like you guys are saying, it's 50-50 at the top.
If you guys can keep Centicle and 20 at bay, then yes, you guys can win easily, beat them.
Please don't even say that name. I'm still having nightmares.
Okay, guys. So I think that about wraps it up. Thanks so much for joining us, TheBarnical. I think you gave us a super useful insight into COWSA, Boosters, and just the divisions in general. So thanks a lot for joining us.
Cool, guys. Thanks, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
General, old faithful. I'll see you again next week.
Definitely.
But thanks for joining my team and also this podcast. And thanks everyone. Have a good week.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Cheers.